Welcome to Transformative. Today we have the joy of having Bert with us, and Bert is living in Mongolia. Bert used to be a teacher and then became an educator in the field of pedagogy. Is that right? Pedagogy?
That, yes,
And,
that's right.
okay. And he taught students to be social workers. And I understand that about 6 years ago, the Lord began to speak to your heart about Mongolia. Could you share about that?
Yeah, my wife and me were living in the Netherlands, and we had a good life. We both had a job, a house, you name it. But on one day in our church, there was a lady who was talking about her project here in Mongolia, and that's helping children and also give them a foster home. And we were both very touched about that. And because of me being a teacher in education, I have a lot of free time during the summer. So I said to my wife, it will be helpful if I could go and visit her. And step by step, actually within 2 weeks, I was on a different place, like Mongolia, and that was a new experience for me because I was not prepared, but I was following God in that way. And I don't want to say it was easy because
Mhm.
it was strange, and I worked and helped with the children, but the facilities were actually not so fine.
Mm.
I had to sleep on the floor. There was no washing facility, and the food was different. Um, so at a certain moment, I thought, "Is this what God wants me to do?" And then at a certain moment, I noticed that it was not the facilities, it was not the food, it was not sleeping on the floor. It was the smile of on the faces of the children. And that changed me completely. And I had an amazing time. And when I
Mm.
came back, I touched Elizabeth also. We got in contact with our organization, who said that we had to go to a mission or Bible school. And they also mentioned to do that for a year. And we said, why should we do that? Because we have work experience, life experience, belief experience. Why should we do that? We went to All Nations in the UK, but after 2 years, we were, yeah, well prepared, and we thought we can go. We were on the top of the hill, and we thought now we can move to Mongolia. Um, because we saw before going to All Nations that God supported us with a certain amount of money in 3 months. So
Mm.
we thought that's easy. And we came back, and that was a different experience because God said, no, you have to wait, you have to listen. You see, it's a growing process. It's not that you're going to say, okay, this is the moment you have to leave. No, God is always showing you the way you have to walk. And I don't want to say it's an easy way, but you will notice that it is a good way in the end. And you will understand why it have to take some extra time, because
Mm.
I'm from the Netherlands, and I noticed that we live in an era that time is valuable, and actually it's still God's time, and that's
Mm.
more valuable.
Wow, that is really exciting. So, in the midst of all this, your experience with God the Father was deepening, yes?
Yes, and actually that's a funny thing, because we had a normal life for 20 years. That means we had a normal job, we had a house, you know what's normal in life. And that means that you think, I don't need so much more because I got it in my own hands. But we
Mm.
gave it in God's hands. And if we look back now, God is providing always. It's not only the money, but it's also the health, the people. We met people all over the world. And if there is a need, we know there are people around us who can help us. And that's here in Mongolia, but that's all around the world. So that's the big difference. Actually, it's not a difference, but we have to follow him.
I've seen a bunch of educational films and read articles about Mongolia, and it seems to me that the father wound deeply impacts society as men often really aren't present in the home. There's a lot of alcoholism, and then many times the men are abusive. It also, from my perception, feels like the children are expendable. They don't really matter. And I was shocked as I saw that children would be left alone with no one to care for them. Is this a true perception? And what is the situation with the children there? How, are they treated with respect and like treasures?
I do have to say that if you are working with vulnerable children, you will notice that they come from a different background than what you normally see when you're walking around here in Ulaanbaatar. I do see people, um, parents, taking good care of their children.
Mhm.
Um, a thing is that uh, that I can see that they give care to the children, but that's what I see on the outside. I never know what's inside. You have to remember that I'm living in the main capital, Ulaanbaatar. 70% of the people are living in shanty towns. We call it ger district. A ger is a tent, a yurt, some people will say.
Mhm.
Um, 40% of the people are living below poverty line. That's below $1 a day. So you can imagine that it's really hard to survive. And if you don't have any job opportunities, what will you do? You will look for a different way to escape this situation. So often parents are drinking alcohol. Alcohol is just like buying water for the same price.
Mm.
And yeah, alcoholism is a yeah is a disease here in Mongolia that makes life very, very hard in both ways. The person who's drinking, because the family will abandon them, but also the children who are harmed
Mm.
physically, sexually by their parents.
Mm.
Then you have also the religion. Here it's a shamanistic Buddhistic religion. Shamanistic is the religion of nature and uh, the spirits, but also the Buddhism with the lamas who are telling them what they have to do. Because if you want to be a Buddhist, you have to achieve things that is good for you and not for others.
Mm.
So it's very self-focused. It's not that you are, um, yeah, taking care of others. On the other hand, because it's a fragile situation, family is still important. So as a child, you are related with your father and mother, and you will keep that going even in hard times.
Mm.
And that makes it, yeah, difficult. It's not only the father or but also the mother
Mm.
who is involved in that. most of the children are very hurt
Mm.
about this. And you can imagine that if you are abandoned, the children, they feel that it is like, you're not welcome, I'm not needed,
Mm.
no one will love me.
Mm.
So it's not that they don't love others, but they feel that they are not wanted.
Yes. Yes. So, how do the children come to live in the orphanage?
The child protection
Oh.
will bring them to the police, and the police will contact us. And some of them are going to an state orphanage, but
Mm.
that's not so helpful for them because it's a different approach. But we can pick them up. We will get a call, and we can pick them up, and they can stay with us till the age of 18.
Oh. So then you're able to teach them and train them and love them?
Yes, they have their own place, and they're living with each other. We have mothers who are taking care of them. There's also a social worker who helps them in general. That means that she can see the progress, but they also go to school, just a normal life, what you have. And that's actually what we want to do. We want to give them a normal life.
Mm.
Of course, we are restricted with what we can do. So it's not that we can give them everything, but I noticed that um, the easiest way is to give toys, food, drink, but
Mm.
giving love is very difficult to give.
Yeah.
That's something what I noticed. I always say that the most important thing is that you build a trustworthy relationship.
Mm.
You will bring safety for them,
Mm.
and that means structure, but also bringing God's love.
Mm.
And that's in us. We can show that to them in a hug, in eye contact, or small things.
Yes. And those are so important. Now, I was reading that mentioned that there are a lot of street children, which is strange for me to think about, that there are children living on the streets, and that some of these children come to the orphanage for help. Could you talk about that? It seems to me like those children are at really high risk for trafficking and abuse and just all kinds of horrible things, and yet they come to you.
Exactly. Actually, they are always on the run because they know that the police are chasing them. And sometimes they are caught and they have to go to prison. Can you imagine? But the reason why they are living on the street is the choice of staying on the street with -30, -35
Mm.
is even better than staying with their parents who are drinking alcohol, abuse them in every way.
Mm.
And that's the reason. So that's why we give them a sort of daycare. They can come to us. They can wash themselves. They get food from us. They even can sleep on the couch. Um, but we don't give them a night care. We can't provide that. But most of the children, they don't want that because they are so used of living on the streets.
Mm.
Um, we try to change that step by step. Some of them, we see that there is change, and that's because of the activities we are providing. We have a carpenter who's making
Mm.
stools. Um, we do painting and cutting cards. Um, this is a way of knowing each other, trust each other, give a safe environment. And some of the children, after 4 or 5 years, they want to go back to school, and there is a possibility that they can come back to school, and we can provide a dormitory for them, because if you want to go to school, you need a place to sleep, otherwise you're too busy with surviving.
Yes. So then you actually do see some children rescued.
Exactly. But yeah, you can imagine that after 5 years living on the street, it's very, very difficult to change that. And also to trust others, because you're always surviving. That's what you do. That's your life. So for them, what for us is strange is quite normal.
Now, you also do work with special needs children?
Yes, we have a project that the name is Reaching the Light. The founders saw that there is a need for children in the countryside with disabilities, and they noticed that if they are living in a care, and often with their mothers, not with their fathers, because people will see a disabled child as a curse. So fathers are running away, family friends are afraid, and mothers have to live for, say, $20 a month. They get something from the government to live for. You can imagine that's very hard. You can say, oh, perhaps they can work, but in the countryside, there is not so much work and you have 24 hours of care. So um, the founders saw that there is a possibility to do physiotherapy with the children and teach the mothers how to do that. And doing that, the mothers will see that the children can do so much more than what they expect. And step by step, they see that change. And they come to our place for 2 weeks. And in the end of the 2 weeks, we will show them what God's love is doing. We are connecting with each other. We start a branch in the field. It's a sort of daycare for children, often run by parents. And the good thing is that they will start to have a network. So they help each other. They can see how much love they can give to the children. It's unbelievable. Because with my background, I visit sometimes places in Holland where children with disabilities are helped by professionals. But as a professional, you never can give the love of what a mother can do. And you can say, how can you see that? It's in the eyes, you see? It's the love, the patience that they have with the children. It's unbelievable, really.
So it's beautiful. So, how are you or the orphanage working, especially with the boys, to help them begin to understand their role ultimately as men, and also to teach them about the Father heart of God?
Yes, we have, as you noticed, that we have quite a lot of things going on in our orphanage. We have actually two buildings. One is the orphanage, and the other building is the place where other activities will take place, like the street children, but also an after-school project, and the children with disabilities. They are very connected with each other. And on Sunday, we have church in our building. So our pastor who's working with us, he is teaching the boys how to live in a godly way. And yeah, that takes time.
Yes. Yes.
Because they are hurt. And yeah, if you want to change yourself, you have to start to respect yourself too.
Mm.
And accept, I don't want to say forget, but accept the situation where you come from. It's like a scarf. I'm not sure if you have some scarves,
Mm-hmm.
but you know they are there,
Yes.
but you're not watching to them every day.
Yes.
And that's the same as what they have. So if they start changing, and there are many places where they can be touched by God's love.
Mm.
So I can give you an example. We have a chef who is cooking for the after school project, and she's not cooking with a cooking book. She is carrying her Bible every time, everywhere. And if a child needs to have a talk, it's just like what you have perhaps in the kitchen. They come to her and they start talking with her. She doesn't have a social work background or whatever, but she's using the Bible. And I think that's more powerful.
Yes.
So the children are, educated or, prepared for life by a lot of people around them,
Mm.
the pastor, but also other workers who are taking care of them.
So, with the orphanage, do you need help? If someone was interested, do they have to have special training? What type of people could you use if they were available?
Um, they can help with teaching English, very practical, doing activities. But building relationships is also very important. So the activity is more like a way of
Mm.
starting with a relationship. And I think that's the most important thing.
Mm.
Some of the children are uh, really foster children. That means they don't have any family anymore. And I know that some of them are adopted by people in America, in Germany. So, um, yeah,
Mm.
there are several ways to help them.
Now, is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners that we haven't discussed, or any kind of call to action to encourage them in relation to the children in Mongolia?
I hope that we can pray and listen better to what God wants, and that we can see that He is leading us in
Mm.
a way that He wants. That's my hope, that we can pray more and that we will listen more, and then we will understand the way we have to follow.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Bert. I thank you for sharing your heart with us. And those of you that are listening, we just pray that you will care about these precious children in Mongolia, and that you will begin to put them on your prayer list, that you will begin to ask the Lord what it is you can do to be a blessing and an encouragement to the children, but also to individuals like Bert and Elizabeth who are there in Mongolia. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you being with us, Bert, and God bless each one of you who are listening. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everyone.